Welcome, thrill seekers, to a world of spine-chilling tales and hair-raising adventures. Gather around for a frightful journey into the unknown as we delve deep into the realm of scary stories. Buckle up, hold on tight, and get ready to experience a rush of terror like never before. The small farming town of Millfield had always been a peaceful place, surrounded by lush green fields of corn. But as the summer of 1998 began, strange things started to happen in the cornfields. The locals whispered about strange noises and movements in the fields at night, and some even claimed to have seen something moving in the shadows. At first, no one paid much attention to the rumors, dismissing them as the wild imaginations of some of the more superstitious townsfolk. But as the weeks passed, the whispers grew louder, and more people began to report strange happenings in the cornfields. It was then that a group of teenagers from Millfield, led by a boy named Jack, decided to investigate. They had heard the rumors too, and they were determined to find out what was really happening in the cornfields. As they made their way through the rows of corn, they felt a sense of unease settle over them. There was something wrong about the cornfields, something sinister that they couldn't quite put their finger on. Suddenly, they heard a rustling in the corn, and a figure emerged from the shadows. It was a man, dressed in rags and covered in dirt. He looked like he had been living in the fields for weeks, and his eyes were wild with fear. The teenagers tried to talk to him, but he only muttered about the evil that lurks in the cornfield before running off into the darkness. The group continued their investigation, searching for any signs of what the man had been talking about. As they moved deeper into the fields, the air grew thick with an oppressive energy that made their skin crawl. And then, they saw it. In the distance, they saw a figure emerging from the corn. It was humanoid, but its limbs were twisted and elongated, and its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. The teenagers froze, unsure of what to do. But then, the creature began to move towards them, and they knew that they had to act fast. They ran, their hearts pounding in their chests, as the creature pursued them through the fields. It was fast, faster than anything they had ever seen, and they knew that they couldn't outrun it for long. As they stumbled through the rows of corn, they saw other creatures emerging from the shadows, their twisted limbs and glowing eyes marking them as something otherworldly and terrifying. The teenagers realized that they were surrounded, with no escape in sight. They huddled together, praying for a miracle. And then, it happened. A bright light illuminated the cornfields, casting the creatures into sharp relief. The teenagers shielded their eyes, but as the light faded, they saw a figure standing before them. It was the man they had met earlier, the one who had muttered about the evil in the cornfield. But now, he was holding a strange object in his hand, something that glowed with an otherworldly energy. With a swift motion, he raised the object and pointed it at the creatures. A burst of light shot out from it, striking the creatures and causing them to writhe in pain. The man led the teenagers to safety, explaining that he had been investigating the evil in the cornfields for weeks and had finally found a way to fight back against it. He showed them the object he had been carrying, a strange device that he called a dimensional anchor. He explained that it was designed to weaken the veil between worlds, making it easier to fight against creatures from other dimensions. The teenagers were amazed and grateful to the man for saving their lives. But as they made their way back to Millfield, they couldn't shake the feeling that the evil in the cornfield was still out. The teenagers tried to tell the townspeople about what they had seen in the cornfield, but no one believed them. They were dismissed as being caught up in their own imaginations, and the rumors continued to spread throughout the town. But Jack and his friends knew the truth. They had seen the evil that lurked in the cornfield with their own eyes, and they knew that it was only a matter of time before it struck again. As the weeks passed, the town of Millfield fell into a state of unease. People avoided the cornfields at all costs, and parents kept a closer eye on their children than ever before. But despite their best efforts, the evil in the cornfield continued to grow stronger. The crops withered and died, and strange symbols appeared in the fields at night, etched into the dirt as if by some invisible hand. And then, the disappearances began. Children started to vanish from their homes, snatched away in the dead of night without a trace. The town was plunged into chaos, with people barricading themselves inside their homes and arming themselves with whatever weapons they could find. Jack and his friends knew that they had to act fast. They had seen the evil in the cornfield with their own eyes, and they knew that it was responsible for the disappearances. Armed with the dimensional anchor that the man had given them, they set out into the fields once again, determined to put an end to the evil once and for all. As they moved through the corn, they saw the symbols etched into the dirt glowing with an otherworldly light. The air was thick with a sense of dread, and they could feel the evil closing in around them. And then, they saw it. In the distance, they saw a figure emerging from the shadows. It was humanoid, but its limbs were twisted and elongated, and its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. The teenagers braced themselves, knowing that they were about to face a fight for their lives. They raised their weapons, ready to defend themselves against the creature. But then, something strange happened. The creature began to writhe and twist, its limbs contorting and twisting in unnatural ways. It let out a scream that echoed through the cornfields, and then it collapsed onto the ground, dead. The teenagers looked at each other in shock, wondering what had just happened. And then, they heard a voice behind them. It was the man from before, the one who had given them the dimensional anchor. He explained that the anchor had weakened the veil between worlds, allowing creatures from other dimensions to slip into their world. But it had also weakened the evil in the cornfield, making it vulnerable to attack. The man led the teenagers to a clearing in the cornfield, where they saw a strange portal glowing with an otherworldly light. He explained that the portal was the source of the evil, a gateway to another dimension that had been opened by accident. But with the dimensional anchor, they could close the portal and put an end to the evil once and for all. The teenagers braced themselves, knowing that they were about to face their greatest challenge yet. But they were determined to put an end to the evil in the cornfield, no matter what the cost. With a burst of energy, they charged towards the portal, their weapons at the ready. The evil creatures from other dimensions surged towards them, their twisted limbs and glowing eyes marking them as something otherworldly and terrifying. But the teenagers were ready for them. With a swift motion, they raised the dimensional anchor and pointed it at the portal. A burst of light shot out from it, striking the portal and causing it to collapse in on itself. The evil creatures let out one final scream. And then, it was over. The portal was gone, and the evil in the cornfield had been defeated. The teenagers stood in the clearing, panting and covered in sweat, looking around at each other in disbelief. They had done it. They had saved their town from the evil that lurked in the cornfield. As they made their way back to town, they knew that they would never forget what they had seen in the fields. The memory of the twisted creatures and the glowing symbols would haunt them for the rest of their lives. As the night draws to a close, we bid farewell to the terrors that haunted us and the spine-tingling tales that kept us on the edge of our seats. Remember, the darkness may linger, but the dawn always brings a new light. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and never stop exploring the mysteries of the unknown.